Why do you think most people fail in Hollywood?
Most people fail when they come to Hollywood? Yeah. Well, I have to say, obviously there's a delusional factor where you really think it's not going to be as hard as it actually is. And I don't know if it's because humans are maybe, we're inspired by attraction, and like we see what being a celebrity attracts. They're very attractive, they're bright and shiny, and they play roles, they play instruments, like I want to play for a living. So the people who strive for it don't have a real idea of the hard work and tremendous luck involved to being one of the few that actually make it. So they're setting themselves up for failure, and that's why I thought I was always a very practical person, and I thought, well, if I'm going to work regularly, and I can't seem to audition well, I better create a public access TV show, because it was before the internet, and then once the internet, my own YouTube tool to use. That was one of my tools. Another one was to write a screenplay that I was able to act in, although on Elvis and Nixon, the role that I wrote for myself was given to another actress who had a big social media following.
Ah, and knowing that that stuff happens, unfortunately, and it's devastating, why do you think some people are able to pick themselves back up and continue on? Some people get mad and say, I'm done. The system's rigged, I'm driving back.
I did have, when I was working at the International House of Pancakes, acting like I was okay with it, I did have a recurring nightmare that I was being shot every night. There was a regular customer who'd come in, and I was wondering to myself, why am I showing up for this? And when I woke up, I called my agent and told them to throw away my pictures and resume. I was done. I was done. And now, at this stage of my life, I can tell you I'm done with being done. I've quit quitting. I can't seem to quit. If there were a way, when YouTube came along and I started getting millions of views a month and then millions of views a week, it was like, yes. And so I went full on, I'm going to just do this. And of course, the views have dropped down, but that was inspiring too. It gave me my own venue. But if I were to do it for the money, I would quit too. There's no money in it. Although I do get residual checks, but why the government would take 6 cents out of my 12, I don't know. But I do get residuals, as you can see.
What's the best year you've had in Hollywood?
I thought the best year, I actually did a YouTube video saying 30-year overnight success. Thinking that Elvis and Nixon was going to be the best year. Here I'd written this amazing screenplay. It was nominated and won awards and starred big stars and all that. Thought that was going to, and it was actually one of the worst because I didn't understand, although I've made it a joke in the past, how writers can be treated. And it was just not a happy experience at all. However, one day I'll be able to watch the movie and truly enjoy it, but not yet.
So was that your worst year? Because I was going to ask you, what was your worst year? You thought it was going to be your best.
That's why I guess it was the best of years. It was the suckiest of years. Yeah. So both are true, and that seems to be the yin yang, the real thing. Everybody's got something. I don't know anyone who's not dealing with something, and that was my something. And I think that's what I would have told myself in a letter to my young self. It's always going to be something, and don't take it personally. You're going to get calls from the big producers shaming you and telling you, who do you think you are? You're going to get those phone calls. Don't take it personally. It's men doing their thing to stop you from doing yours.
It's always men? Did you get any? I've had a call from a few agents that said,
Oh, well,
who do you think
agents.
you are? They
Yeah,
were
but now
women,
you're not
yeah.
talking man or woman. Now you're talking career.
Okay, that's
Occupation.
interesting. Oh, wow. That's gender
because
neutral.
It would be, yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And I think that there's also other things I would tell her, very important. See people for who they really are, not who you wish they were. Because this is a town of people who will tell you what they think you need to hear in order to get what they need from you. So I would tell her to, before Google, because this was before, hell, it was before laptops. I would tell her, it's a town full of people who will misrepresent themselves, and check people out and don't trust anyone. Be 80% less Canadian and 20% more FBI.
And Canadian is?
Oh, hey, you wouldn't hurt me because I wouldn't hurt you, eh? We're all in this together.
Sure.
I hurt you. That's like hurting myself. Well, that was a little. I'm from southern Montreal. South slips in. I can't believe I forgot how to do. I spent 21 years in Montreal, and now suddenly I can't do the accent anymore. Eh?
And FBI is guilty until proven innocent, or?
Well, in this town, just know that people do take advantage. I was told by my first photographer, let's just call it a headshot session, where he told me after he took the pictures that all the girls do this after. And I'm like, not ain't be, like all the girls, all of them. But at that point, he had already given me something and a glass of wine, and I was happy to do it because I was already freaked out that I wasn't on that TV show I drove here to be on. So, yeah.
Do you think Me Too will still exist in this current age now with this generation going forward? Because now we're bombarded with it every day on Twitter. Somebody new is being called out, male or female.
Well, I know someone who absolutely hates the Me Too movement because it changed the way they do business. And I'm like, okay, anytime anything is new, there's going to be growing pains. And right now it's all like getting adjusted as to what's proper. However, now that women and girls and boys are given the words to use, like, that is not appropriate, put that back in your pants. It's like, before we didn't even have, that's like, oh, it must be me. Was I wearing like a short skirt? I mean, even though we know it's not, the typical thing is, I was raped. Oh, what were you wearing? I mean, that's where we're coming from. So do I think it's going to change overnight? No, but these people who are being, and as someone who's been assaulted, if you're being sexually assaulted, you're being assaulted by someone who is able to objectify you and not think of you as a person. And so if you are quiet, you are complicit. So not that you brought it on or not that you let it go on, just know that you have to be a champion. You have to be the hero right then and there and say, if I don't speak up now, no one will, and I have a right to. No matter if they bought dinner.
Rape is definitely not okay. not at all. But then there's this other element which feels like sort of the elephant in the room in Hollywood. And that is, what if there is, you do this for me and I do this for you?
Well, the casting couch has always been there. Favors, you do favors for people. There has to be that line of not sex. It just can't be. It's hard to change the paradigm.
What if somebody thinks they're different? I've got to do this. I've got to get this part. The one thing I see about this town, and having been young, growing up, not in the industry, but then coming here at a very young age with not a lot of guidance, is I saw a lot of people like myself that were very hungry. They would have done anything. And I see sometimes they're still hungry and they're in their 30s, 40s and
that's
more.
why it's up
Right.
to the industry. It can't be offered. You know, it's
Sure.
like, dude, you know, don't be one of them. Yeah. Get your sex elsewhere. Get your thrills elsewhere.
But I mean, for women or men, because it's happening to men as well, what would you tell them that they think that they'll be offered something if they just do this and they're willing to live with that?
Oh yeah, if you're willing to live with that, if you're willing to. I mean, there are people who have sex for a donut, Yeah, I never say one case fits all.
Sure.
However, there has to be something that we expect and something that we don't expect. And when the don't expect comes in, we're like, I know where to take that. I know how to report that.
Sure. If it's you're waking up and
Yeah, but
it's
otherwise,
horrible. That's horrible.
it's like case by case.
Right. But do you think we're still in that arena now that there's been so many people have?
I would imagine people are more afraid to whip it out these days.